Is it a burden? Or is it a privilege? Something a little special occurred this weekend. For the third time in our history, South Africa won the Rugby World Cup. You didn't even need to be watching to know the outcome. Had you been on the streets, you'd have heard it. No one erupts like a South African rugby fan, and for a few minutes, non-stop, there was no silence to be found across an entire nation. Sounds of victory, sounds of hope. The philosophy behind these champions presents a lesson worth learning. It's a change in thinking, in orientation, in how you approach the hardship of a challenge. The nation's director of rugby, Rassie Erasmus, said that the team needed a mental shift. After a crushing defeat in the very first match, they chose to change their thinking. The first game was a great test for us in terms of handling pressure, he said. In South Africa, pressure is not having a job, or if one of your close relatives is murdered. In South Africa, there are a lot of problems, which is pressure. Rugby, he said, shouldn't be something that creates pressure. It should be something that creates hope. We have a privilege of giving hope. It's not a burden. So they took control and altered their mindset, their outlook, their attitude. We just believed that this was not a burden. It's our privilege, and the moment you see it that way, it becomes a hell of a privilege. A hell of a privilege. We started working towards that, and that's how we saw this whole World Cup campaign. What are you facing this week? Is it a burden or a privilege? Do you have to? Or do you get to? Breathe in. You have life. Breathe out. You can make choices. You get to be, to make, to grow, to create, to write your story. It is your choice. And it is a privilege. All of it. Thank you for a victory. Thank you for hope. Thank you for a lesson worth learning. It's a privilege, and that makes it worth fighting for.